And in our world business news, India's central bank raised its benchmark interest rates more than expected today by 50 basis points, after forecasting inflation will stay at an elevated level until at least September. The Reserve Bank of India lifted the repurchase rate to 7.25% from 6.75%. Only few economists predicted such a large move. The majority saw only a 25 basis point increase. With a strong rate hike, India is stepping up its force in reining in inflation. Consumer prices in India are rising fast and, if left unchecked, could rekindle public protests. Rising borrowing costs are hoped to slow India's economic growth this year and help ease inflation.
It was agreed upon that there should be a 50 basis points increase both in repo rate and reverse repo rate, because the corridor of 1% we are maintaining. This was necessary to contain inflation. Inflationary pressure in the economy is still working very high.
Meanwhile, Australia's central bank held its interest rate steady today as expected, but laid the groundwork for tightening in the coming months. The Reserve Bank of Australia kept rates at 4.75%, adding, however, that it is keeping a close eye on the economy. Economists say this suggests the central bank could plan another rate hike. 18 of 20 economists polled by Reuters forecast a hike in the third quarter, with all expecting higher interest rates in the final quarter of the year. A mining boom is seen forcing the RBA's hand sooner rather than later. Just a day ago, the central bank said its commodity price index rose to a record high. It is up 32% for the year. South Korean police raided Google's office today on suspicion the internet search firm had illegally collected data. The raid centered on Google's mobile advertising unit AdMob. Police suspect AdMob was collecting the location and movements of its customers without their consent or the approval of the Korean Communication Commission. Google confirms the raid and is cooperating, but insists it didn't do anything illegal.
They said they visited here to listen to our explanation on collecting personal location information. As we've told you from last week, Google's been asking agreement from users in terms of collecting personal location information and collecting the information only when it's agreed upon.
The probe highlights growing concerns about the possible misuse of private information as more people use mobile devices such as smartphones and tablets. Google and rival iPad maker Apple are stellar performers in the booming mobile market, and both have been targeted by the US lawmakers over how they treat personal data and how users' movements are tracked. The probe is the latest setback for Google, which has already been the subject of investigations in South Korea and the United States over data collected by its controversial fleet of Street View cars. Before we head back to news, let's take a quick look at the Asian equity, commodity and the currency markets, and after that, Laura Buckwell is back with the news.